Can we just talk here?
Because we are uncool.
I don't believe in guilty pleasure.
A choice right now between fear and love.
And welcome to Empower the Audience. If you are listening to us on a regular basis, you know we've been absent for a while. We've actually been having a lot of stuff going on in our personal lives. We actually are in a different space and time for you Whovians. So we are starting back up again, and we'll be on a regular basis from here into eternity. With me today is Chris and Marshall, and we're going to talk about the things we've been watching and listening to and all that kind of good stuff. So, first of all, we're going to talk about Tomorrowland, which we all saw together. Is that not correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
What do you guys think about that?
Go ahead.
All right, I'll go first. I enjoyed it. It was an interesting movie. It turned out a little bit different than what I thought it was going to be originally, but it was still fun. Had a lot of the action sequences were a lot of fun, and obviously Brad Bird knows what he's doing when it comes to an action sequence. So I think that was my favorite parts of the movie.
Mm-hmm. Well, I really there's a lot of conceptual stuff that I really loved out of it. There's both an homage to Tomorrowland itself, but also to science and science history and stuff like that. They had a lot of Tesla stuff in there. So, being a kind of a sci-fi geek like I am, this was a great movie. The only thing that was really weird about it was, how the climax of the movie just kind of creeped up on you. Oh, we're at that part. Oh.
True. Yeah. Because it was kind of just things happening and things were kind of being explained to you along the way, and then all of a sudden it's like, all right, we're here now.
And then wham, you have the bad guy doing his monologue, and you're like, oh, it's the end of the movie. Wow. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, the thing I thought was interesting about the whole the story and the conflict and the bad guy and all that kind of stuff, who's played by Hugh Laurie, is this is the second time I've seen a Disney movie, and I was like, wow, they're kind of preaching. The first time was the end of WALL-E, the third act of WALL-E. I was like, whoa, it went from this deserted planet Earth to we're going to talk about issues that's going on in America now and how technology's kind of making us less in touch with reality and ourselves and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's what this one kind of had in it too. I thought it had an interesting commentary on technology.
At first I kind of felt that way too. I felt it was really preachy, but then when I thought about it, that's kind of how I guess Walt Disney kind of imagined things to be with his Tomorrowland and the original Epcot Center of this place where people can kind of be free from all that stuff, the politics and the those things, and just be all about imagination and looking at the problem and not just complaining about the problem but doing something about it.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, it kind of fits in with this, so in the end I ended up not having much of a problem with that.
I really feel like there's only one thing that we were missing with this movie, and it's a post-credit sequence of, and this doesn't ruin the movie for you at all, don't worry, of just this kid walking up and handing the director of the movie one of the Tomorrowland pins. And if you have watched the movie, now you'll know what I'm kind of talking about. If you haven't, this doesn't ruin. Just imagine that scene happens, and that would totally I think that would make the movie even more wow. So what else are we talking about today?
Well, the next big movie that we went to see was Jurassic World.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Now, on the way out to go see this movie, out my front door, Vince, who you've heard on previous podcasts, said, I only need number one and this one. And I was like, okay, thanks for that. I added expectations on my way to go see the movie. I don't agree with that statement, but I did enjoy the movie, and I think it actually fits well with all the other ones. I did enjoy it a lot. What did you guys think?
I kind of agreed with Vince. Like, if they didn't make 2 and 3 and they just made this one and the original, it would have been an amazing thing. Not to say that the other ones were terrible, horrible, and should never have existed, but you could have skipped them, and both of these movies would have made total sense and been really entertaining by themselves.
Yeah, the second and third movie really did not seem to have any impact on what this movie was about or what was happening in it. So, yeah, it was definitely. I think it's definitely a more direct sequel to the first film. Which, if you're a fan of the first one, I think this is like that ultimate. Like, you finally get to see the park in action, and what would happen if this park really opened. Yeah. So, and that as both former, like someone that's worked at like Disney World, knowing the theme park side of how things work, and seeing that come to life, but also with something awesome like dinosaurs, that's something like I've been waiting 20 years for, and I was blown away. I loved it.
Yeah, I think it's fun. It was fun for all of us having worked at theme parks that have that perspective on. There's a particular scene where it involves one of the theme park workers that I had to kind of laugh at because it reminded me of that working in the theme parks and what it's like to have to deal with guests sometimes. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. I thought Chris Pratt was great. Especially in the scenes where he's kind of like the Dino Whisperer a little bit. Not to spoil anything about it, but that's you kind of get that from the trailers if you've seen the trailers. And that part was really interesting. I thought he did a good job with that. You can tell like he had enough heart as that kind of character where actually cared about. He respected the dinosaurs' power and all that, but he also had a connection to them, and I thought that was pretty cool because it's definitely something we haven't seen in any of the other movies.
Yeah. Now, what was very funny for me very early on in the movie was seeing all the product placement, and I'm sitting there going, "Oh, look, product placement, product placement. Wow, they're being really blatant with all this product placement. Is that how they funded this? Oh no, that's the joke." Yeah, as we very quickly find out, and I actually really like that a lot. Yeah. Did any of you? This has gone around Facebook a lot. Did you guys hear the theory that Chris Pratt's character has already appeared in the Jurassic Park films?
Yeah, the child in the first one. The
snot-nosed brat that didn't respect raptors in the beginning and gets told by Grant. That, I think if that was really where it is, that's a great connection. But they're never going to make that canon.
No, yeah. I mean, that's an interesting concept. I was like,
there are a couple of fun cameos in it. I will say, I won't say one of them, but one of them I'll say because most likely most people, unless they're diehard fans, don't know what he looks like. Jimmy Buffett is in here. Keep an eye out for the guy with the margaritas. That's all I say.
I actually saw, real quick, I just saw a guy, someone had posted a picture of a guy that dressed up as Jimmy Buffett from Jurassic World. He went to Comic-Con like as cosplay, so he's like wearing his outfit and he had like a pterodactyl attached to his hat, so look at the pterodactyl, and he's holding the margaritas running, and he has like a Jurassic World map in his pocket, and I was like, that's amazing.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so moving on to I had mentioned in a previous episode that I was watching through everything Star Wars, preparing for the next movie, the episode 7. And it's coming December, so that was including not just the movies but also the animated material, and so that includes Clone Wars, which I'm progress report. I'm in season 5 now, which there are only 6 seasons of. I've actually slowed down a little bit because I don't want to run out of stuff to watch too early before December. But another member of this podcast has started watching said show.
So I'm about midway to late in season 4 of the show, and it's brilliant. Like, what I like a lot about it is just how it fleshes out the characters a little bit more. If you just watched the movies, you would see, oh, hey, look, Anakin, he's kind of impetuous, and he's running off to battle, to then in the next movie, I am now the Dark Lord about to appear. This fills in a lot of that gap, and you get to see a little bit more of his transformation. There was 2 story arcs in season 3 that were just... They were brilliant. One of them is, Anakin's group of clones are now being led temporarily by another general, and the problems that they're having with this general's tactics and how that all works out. It was really good because it was true wartime stories. It really made these clones feel like people.
Was it in 3 or 4?
I think it was in 3, but it could have been early on in 4.
Yeah, the arc he's talking about, it's like a 3 or 4 episode arc.
It's a 4-episode arc with General Krell.
Yeah, Krell, and that is the one I always cite, and to this day is still my favorite arc in that show. It goes to an existential place with the clones. It's like, what are clones? Do they have rights? Are they people? Like that's pretty deep for a Cartoon Network show. You got to admit. So because most of the stuff on there is just
the other arc that I thought was really good is this arc where they are trapped on a planet with embodiments of the Force.
Yeah,
there are these 3 characters that are embodying the Force: the dark side, the light side, and the Force united. And having to deal with that, and how the fact that they're saying Anakin is the chosen one, he's supposed to take over for the Force united embodiment, and his choices and how it echoes through the rest of the universe in this one episode. You could probably watch this episode alone in between the 2 movies, and it would blow your mind. So, I really feel like it was a good arc. So all in general, if you haven't seen it yet, go pick it up. Netflix, good stuff.
It's on Netflix. All of it's on Netflix right now, so you kind of don't have 6 lost episodes to just watch through it. It's a lot of fun, and like you said, it expands the characters. But the great thing too is it expands the universe. Oh yes. The way I said, basically, I think I said this before. If you throw a rock in the cantina in the first movie, you're gonna know that person's planet. Because there's all different aliens in that bar, so you're gonna you really get a fully fleshed out universe. So that's great stuff. The next thing we're gonna talk about is X-Files. In case you don't know, if you are an X-Files fan, they are coming out with a series, like a mini series. They're calling it Special Event. I believe it's like 13 episodes. And so I have not watched through all of them, but I just in a recent Entertainment Weekly article I looked, and they had their list of their favorite episodes, about 12 of them. So I'm actually watching through those. Maybe I'll go back and watch through the whole seasons later, but I'm actually enjoying watching through these particular episodes. They're really good. Some legitimately gross and creepy, but fun nonetheless. I did like that. This is a spoiler, I guess. At the end of the first season, they basically are out of work and they get fired, which I thought was kind of a funny way to end the first season. Of course, the show went on for however many seasons it did. So, but yeah, I really enjoying it. The dynamics between the 2 characters is really good. It's a lot of fun and good suspenseful and conspiracy theory type storytelling. Okay, so the next one we're going to talk about the Terminator, which we all saw Terminator Genesis together, but I'm going to have Marshall kind of take you through because we watched through all of them. I've watched all but the first one, but he's watched through all of them before seeing the movie, and so. Yeah,
Terminator Genesis was really interesting. Like he said, we watched through all of them. I didn't rewatch number 2, but I know enough about it that it didn't really matter. And what was great about Genesis is just how much of a nod to the original movie it was. this movie is hello cat, hello. This movie is all about time travel. I mean, if you didn't know that already, the Terminator series is all about time travel and how time changes can affect things. Is destiny set? Can we change things? And I think that question was really answered in this movie, where before every single thing they did just delayed the inevitable. This actually possibly prevented it. We don't know.
The funny thing about watching through these is we kind of came to some really unpopular conclusions with the other fans of the Terminator things. Yeah. It's basically, if you ask most Terminator fans, it's Terminator 2 is like sacred and the best thing they've ever done. But we actually found that we liked some other ones even better. We actually liked 3, which people hated, I think, because 2 is so kind of serious and action based, and that the third one's very more like has a lot of comedy in it, a lot of more character based stuff, and we even enjoyed the 4th one, which I know a lot of diehard fans hated. So I've talked to some people about the 5th one, and they definitely didn't like it, but whereas we saw positive aspects. So I guess we'll go on the record of being unpopular with our view of this series. But
basically, right now, our list of favorite movies out of this, it goes in order of 3, 5, 4 to 1. Okay, or at least for me and Lainey. Now, Chris, what do you feel?
I haven't seen part 4 yet, so I can't really include it. But in what I have seen, I would say 2, 1, 4, 3, or 5. This is the 5th movie, right?
Yeah.
So so 2, 1, 5, 3. Maybe 5 after 2. But yeah, I mean, I really liked the new movie. I thought it was a lot of fun. I think they tried to do kind of what the second movie did, was like up the ante with the effects, with the type of new Terminator that they were dealing with.
Oh yeah.
They tried to up the ante with that stuff, and I think this movie did well with those things. I was just still really confused about the timeline issue with young Sarah Connor getting her own Terminator situation. I'm still confused about like who sent him, where is that from? I don't know. I get it's kind of a reboot, so maybe it'll get explained later. I'm still confused about that.
Yeah, a lot of this series, basically what they did is they took advantage of the fact that there's a lot of time travel going on. There's probably one timeline that we never saw in which that Terminator was sent back. Every single movie has had a change to the timeline, so that we are so far away from the zero timeline right now, it's impossible to keep track of. And there is websites where they have kept track of every single change to the timeline that there has been, including those from the Sarah Connor Chronicles.
Oh, yeah.
And apparently there's been a lot of changes in time from that, if I'm not mistaken. So
totally
keeping track of all of this is near impossible. And you just have to run with it. If you really want to enjoy the series, you can't keep track of time.
I did really enjoy the relationship, though, with the Arnold Schwarzenegger Terminator and Sarah Connor. It was a lot of fun. They had a really kind of a cute...
and I really liked the Sarah Connor, too. I thought she was... it was very cool because it was the toughness of the older one, but in a younger... better acting version.
Yes.
Yeah. Khaleesi.
Yeah. I totally love this actress far better than either of the Sarah Connors of the past. And she was just amazing. And I could actually see why you would go back in time to save this girl.
You could probably go through this movie and even be a Game of Thrones fan, and if you don't read the credits, you won't know that it's her, but it is the Dragon Queen from...
Khaleesi is coming to Skynet.
Yeah, pretty much. So that is the Terminator. What we will be coming to you next week. Chris reminded me we should probably do a wrap up of what we're excited about from Comic-Con. I haven't watched any of the panels yet, so I'll do that between now and next week, so we can really tell you. We've been watching some trailers. We watched the Superman versus Batman trailer, which looks even. I think this trailer finally looks more interesting. I think the first trailer I'd seen was kind of a little iffy, but now that you're seeing a little bit more of it, it's definitely interesting. I'm actually looking forward to the guy that's playing Lex. I'm blanking on his name.
Oh, yeah. Jesse Eisenberg.
Jesse Eisenberg.
Am I seeing right? Does Lex Luthor have hair?
Yeah, at some point I think he's going to lose it because I've seen him take like a glamour, not really a glamour picture, but a magazine picture with it off.
A glamour shot.
But yeah, it's glamour shots. Lex Luthor is glamour shots.
That just actually, it's weird. It's seeing Lex Luthor with hair. I'm like, hey, what?
Something tells me those are probably early scenes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have no idea how they're going to explain that. We know that
Superman burns it off with his laser vision.
It was kryptonite meteor rocks that made him lose his hair. We'll have to see what it is in this. But I am kind of. I think it's kind of really amusing that they said, okay, we need a billionaire and who has kind of a prickly attitude. Oh, let's get the guy that played the head of Facebook. That's kind of funny to me, but I think he can do it. I think he's a really good actor, and so it'll be interesting to see that dynamic. So we will be coming back at you next week, and like I said, from here on in, once a week, we're dedicated, we're committed. Thank you for listening to Empower the Audience. Say goodbye, guys.
See ya.
Goodbye.